terms of this week and me and James and the summer shred, I lost zero point 0.2. I at first was a little disappointed until I saw my check-in photos, and actually I was quite surprised. Definitely was a lot tighter, a lot, more definition popping out, especially through the abdominals. So I was pretty happy about that. I will take the zero point 0.2, especially because I actually added in a couple hundred extra calories on my Thursday and Friday. So the fact that I could do that and still lose a little bit and not gain weight, that was actually fantastic. What about you, James? How did you fare this week?
I had to maintain this week, so it didn't go so great. I mean, I feel good, I look good, but didn't lose any weight. So we're gonna stick with 2,100 calories and see what happens.
Awesome. Well, all right. I know you guys have all actually been waiting for this part two on how to bring up your lagging muscle groups and fix your weak points. So last week we had a pretty comprehensive laydown of how to do that, but this week we really wanted to address the top 5 myths as it relates to bringing up those weak points. So we'll get all in that today. It's not just, myth busting here. It's about dispelling that misinformation that's really holding people back from growing those lagging muscle groups. But first, we have something very important to celebrate with you guys.
The real updates.
Yes, it is officially the end of the 6-week 88 Fitness Training Summer Shred Challenge, you guys. And so it's been incredible over the last 6 weeks just watching the contestants show up. They had consistency, discipline, and just train with intensity. And so, they submitted their transformation. So thank you to all those that actually sent start photos and finished and sent those after photos. So it was definitely pretty inspiring watching the transformations, and there's definitely 3 of them that actually stood out. And I promise you, we will announce the winner here. But
there's definitely a top 3. Definitely a top 3.
Oh, for sure. So coming in 3rd place is Deal. So Deal went from 205.3 pounds down to 193.7.
Fantastic.
So yeah, that's like 11.6 pounds, you guys, in
Fantastic.
6 weeks. And in this transformation in particular, you could definitely tell there was a reduction of body fat, right? So out of the 3, this one was the most significant reduction in body fat. You could tell through, the abdominals, the chest, the shoulders, everything slimmed down. It looked fantastic. So congratulations.
Up. Yeah, good job, Deal.
Yeah. Coming in 2nd place, our runner-up was Chris. Chris went from 169.2 to 160, so just over 9 pounds lost.
Chris has ab lines too, bro.
Yeah, so out of the 3 transformations that we're highlighting, Chris's is probably the most aesthetic. Right? So he doesn't have a whole lot of body fat to lose to begin with. And so the aesthetics transformation was very clear. There was definitely improvements through the core, the shoulders, the arms. So yeah, he maintained that strong muscular look with a lot more definition.
Yeah.
And then that brings us to our 1st place winner.
One.
Number 1. Can you guys guess who it is? Can you guess? All right, it's Aileen.
Aileen, my man.
Yes. So Aileen started at 200 pounds. He got down to 184 pounds. So that's 16 pounds.
Good job, Aileen. You killed it, brother.
Yeah, so out of our top 3, he actually lost the most in scale weight. But not only that, to me, it was a noticeable fat loss with enhanced tightness, chest definition, shoulder fullness. So he was able to maintain a lot of size and dial it in. And so I'm very proud of all of the contestants, like I said.
Everybody did great. Congrats to everybody, because you did great, and especially Aileen. Congrats, Aileen.
Yep. So we actually want to announce a little bit of a surprise for our top 3.
Hey.
We are actually going to give away apparel to all 3 of you, because we really are truly impressed with what you were able to do in that 6-week shred.
You killed it, y'all.
Yeah.
Good job.
So if Deal, Chris, and Aileen would please email me your mailing addresses, we will get that apparel out to you shortly.
Yes.
But yeah, congratulations, and great job to everyone who entered.
Yes.
I'll give an honorable mention to Tina. She did not do a deficit, but she actually was able to do a little bit of body recomp and tone and tighten up things that she wanted to work on. So honorable mention, Tina.
Yeah, and there's others. Dave and Buster lost 30 pounds before we started the summer shred, so he continued to lose, but he was already deep into it. Good job, Dave and Buster. That's fantastic. Big T, I know he lost weight. Congratulations. Angel, I know Angel's down. Congratulations. All you guys, fantastic job. And before we go any further, I got one more update. We're in West Virginia. We're on the phone. So if there's any technical issues, like a comment goes by and we don't react to it, it's because we're working from the phone. We're normally working from the computer. So bear with us today.
In fact, someone drop a comment. I want to see where it pops up, because we are working from a different device. Congrats everyone, and stay tuned. We will definitely announce another challenge coming up soon. So be on the lookout for that as well. So today's topic, let's talk about the top 5 myths when you're trying to bring up lagging muscle groups. But before we jump right into that,
test comment. Congrats, winners. All right.
All right. Thank you. There we go. Good. We can see that. Appreciate it. So let's talk a little bit about why this topic matters. Everyone has lagging muscle groups, whether it's your chest, your rear delts, your glutes, whatever it may be. Most people have some type of asymmetry going on, some area that they like to focus on. Angel, good morning.
Good morning, Angel.
We were just talking about you, man. Most people are trying to fix that lagging body part, and it's interesting because they usually will try to toss, more sets at it. Maybe even random exercises tossed in there.
More frequently working them out.
Yeah, and they're just still not seeing results. And they're like, what gives? Why can't this body group grow? I've been at it for years, right? Truly that's because of their understanding of what it really takes to drive growth. I think this can be misconstrued due to popular gym myths, maybe even just bad info from different influencers, as well as outdated science. That's the thing. Studies are being conducted every day, and new information is being presented, and you kind of have to stay up with that to get ahead of it throughout time. If you've been following the wrong logic and you just keep spinning those wheels, hopefully today in our conversation, you can actually stop wasting that time and effort and do what actually works. Hey, Chris.
Chris is on. Welcome back, Chris. We announced the winners, brother. You were in the top 3.
Yeah, you were the runner-up, second place. And we also announced, Chris, that we're actually going to give away apparel to all 3 of our top 3. So be on the lookout for that. So today we're going to give you some truth-based strategies, some science-based strategies, and all from our, 30 plus years of experience with hypertrophy. So if you're serious about transforming your physique and finally seeing the results, especially in those lagging areas, definitely stay tuned. We're going to, debunk the top 5 myths when it comes to bringing up those weak points.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, so what is myth number 1? What is something that you guys hear all the time?
This is huge, and you hear it all the time.
So myth number 1 is that if I train my weak point more often, it will grow faster, right? I get this all the time. We even just had a client, that's looking to bring up the chest, was like, all right, well, should I train it every day or more frequently? And, the myth is that more frequency equals more gains, right?
And this was big in the 90s. Dave and Buster's on. Hey. Good morning, Dave and Buster. Big in the 90s, all over the muscle magazines. Every bodybuilder out there who had a weak point said, I started training 3 times a week and brought it up. So I think that's where the myth came from. Remember, recovery and stimulation. If you shortchange either,
right,
you're not making gains. If you train it 3 times a week, you're not recovering. Nor are you working hard enough if you are recovering.
Yeah. I mean, I get it a lot with the ladies too. And I know we have a couple ladies on here, especially with the glutes. It's an area that they're always trying to bring up. And they are always like, what if I do glutes 3 times a day or every day? Can I bring them up? In fact, I just had an athlete ask the same thing, and I was like, no, train with more quality, more intensity, instead of adding more frequency in there.
We're going to get into that later, too.
Yeah, absolutely. So, if we're going to give you some coaching tips today on myth number 1, it is to, train as much as you can recover, right? Would be part of it, but there's a caveat, and the training that you do has to be intense enough. So you need to focus on performance, focus on the progressive overload and strength. Like, if your reps drop and you're not recovering, that's not going to work.
It's not gains.
Right. So go in there each time, hit it with as much intensity as you can. Hopefully you have that log book so you know exactly how many reps and how much weight you did. And you got to try to beat your last or previous best, right? And ideally you can recover from that in 3-4 days, and maybe you can hit that group again. But if you're not recovered, there's no way you can go out and hit it again, because you're not going to hit your previous best or better, right?
Yes, and you want to grow everything in balance. So a weak point needs to come up. So yes, you can work it more often. So do it twice in your cycle instead of just once.
Right.
So if you did the math, every 3 to 4 days, that's twice a week maximum. So you pepper it in twice a week with your other split in your other body parts.
But yeah, I think when you're doing that, though, you really need to pay close attention to like soreness, fatigue, strength retention, especially the strength retention. If it's not there, then it's going to make a difference in terms of hypertrophy. And even though the two aren't directly linked, tracking performance through strength is a really good indicator of what's going on internally, on the biological level.
Yeah, once again, I'm gonna repeat it. You said it earlier. If you're not hitting your reps and your weights, you're not making gains. And if the reason you're not hitting your weights and your reps is because you're still sore, you're not recovering either.
Right.
So you just did a double whammy. You didn't stimulate or recover. So it's not worth it. If you can't get a full workout with a full recovery, you just shortchange yourself.
Absolutely. So that is myth number 1. And I think it's probably one of the most common ones. So we wanted to hit that first. In terms of another one that we have, Dave and Buster said MRV, maximum recoverable volume. Correct.
Very good.
Correct. So definitely dial that into what you can recover from, and hopefully you were able to progressive overload. If you weren't, then you're not hitting the intensity and the quality that you need to, and something else might be amiss, or something else might be going on if you can't.
Yep.
So number 2, popular myth here is I'm not sore, so that muscle must not be working, right? So the myth is that, that DOMS, no DOMS equals no growth. And that's just simply not true, right?
Not true. There's another influencer. I can't remember his name right now. Apologies. But he said, listen, man, I could train legs every day, all day, and they never got sore. Never, ever got sore. Did they grow? Yes, of course they grew. There's pictures before and after. His legs got huge. I can't believe they never got sore, because I look at a leg extension and my legs get sore. But he said his whole fitness career, his legs never got sore. They grew like crazy. Never got sore.
Interesting.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a good point. Angel says, use different exercises for weak body parts instead of doing the same thing over and over.
Hit at different angles, different, yeah.
Yeah, I would agree. If you've been doing the same old flat barbell bench press for 3 years and your chest just isn't growing,
time to go to dumbbells.
You either need to call yourself out and be like, oh no, like I've been telling myself I've been hitting an intensity of 9 of 10, but really it's a 5 or 6, or try something else there. Dave and Buster said, I just installed a pull-up bar in my basement. I am very sore now.
Very nice.
Yes.
So anytime I'm not going to say anytime. Most of the time when you introduce a new exercise, no matter what it is, you get sore than sore because it's a new exercise.
Absolutely. That is a strategy too, to lower weight sometimes and reps, is to introduce a new exercise because you're not used to it. So sometimes that can lead to hypertrophy. So Angel and Dave and Buster actually have a great suggestion there.
Yeah, and you're going to have to find your starting weights because it's a new exercise, and then progressively overload from there.
Absolutely. So yeah, soreness does not equate one way or another to muscle group growth or not.
Nope.
Right?
Not at
So
all.
it's really, like you said, related to introducing a new exercise. Like there's some kind of novelty to what you did. You're doing it different. A lot of times it's related to the eccentric loading, not necessarily growth quality. Hey,
Tina, God,
Tina.
hey Tina.
And then, a lot of seasoned lifters, like you suggested, they grow plenty and they have little to no soreness because they just are so advanced.
Yeah, well, we discussed this earlier. We were talking about it, and if you've been watching a while, I'm dealing with some back issues. My back's been hurt for a long time. I haven't been able to hit a real leg workout, a progressive overload leg workout in a long time. Are my legs still getting sore? Yes, they're getting extremely sore. Am I making muscles in my legs?
No.
Maybe not.
Yeah.
Maybe not necessarily. Matter of fact, I'm probably not because I'm not hitting my weights.
Right.
But I'm getting through what I can with these injuries and still trying to hold on to some size, but I'm not making gains and I'm getting sore than sore. Like, we're in the mountains right now and it's hard to walk, y'all. So I'm still getting very sore even though I'm not making gains.
I mean, another good example, I'm in contest prep, you guys, so I'm doing quite a bit of cardio. And man, like hitting it on the elliptical day after day, my hamstrings and stuff get sore beyond belief. But no, I'm not, that's not hypertrophy there. That's just kind of inflammation creeping in there and some other things, buildup of waste products and the like. So in terms of coaching tips for you guys on soreness and hypertrophy, focus on muscle tension and creating a load, moving a load, and focus on progress and tracking that progression over time.
I mean, it sounds crazy, but it really is strength gains. Strength gains equal size gains, and it's the only objective way to measure it, really.
Dave and Buster asked if your leg measurements are increasing. We actually haven't taken measurements of you in quite some time.
I haven't taken any measurements in a very long time, but we take pics, and I can tell you no. They are not. I'm also 48, so a lot of people say you start to lose leg size around that age. I'm not buying it. I'm still going to train, and I'm going to keep going harder. The back is getting better, better, better. I'm being very cautious, obviously, because I don't want to regress. So as I get better, I'll keep adding weight. And, I haven't deadlift or straight leg deadlift in forever. I will add those back in as well and continue to add weight once I can.
Yeah. Another tip for you guys, if you're progressing in load or reps, that typically means you're growing. So even without soreness, you're still growing. So just toss that soreness card out the window. However, if you are sore, you really got to think about whether you should actually lift that day.
Yes, it can hinder progress.
It can definitely hinder progress. And there's different kind of levels to the soreness. There's days where you're like, oh, my biceps feel a little tight. And then after you get through a couple warm-up sets, you're like, oh, no, I'm good to go. Like, I can still PR. And then there's other days you wake up and you're like, there's no way. So if you think you're kind of on the fence, maybe try it, because I've done that before where I was like, I think I'm too sore to work out. And then once I got a couple warm-up sets in, I was good to go. I hit my weights. Yep. But in general, if you feel sore or fatigued or whatever, just don't work out. Like, let that go away, because a lot of times it's a mental thing, right? Like, you feel sore, that hurts. And then that kind of blocks you from hitting that intensity that you need. Myth 3. This is also a good one. Only isolation exercises will fix my weak point. False, you guys, false.
Oh, this is a good one. I like this one. We had a guy, it's been probably a couple months now, say you can't grow unless you do isolation exercise, and I kind of laughed and said, man, the guys that have been doing this for literally hundreds of years never did an isolation exercise. They only did compound exercises, and they blew up. So now you're telling me the compound exercises don't work? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about this a lot. Like, your muscles fire in an all or nothing kind of perspective, and the compound exercise is going to challenge them significantly more. So you're not only recruiting those type 1, you're recruiting those, type 2A, type 2X muscle fibers as well, which have more propensity to grow than just your type 1 fibers. So if you can really stimulate all 3 types of fibers through that compound, that's going to be significantly better than just doing an isolation where you might not be pulling in all of that. Now
Yes.
you could argue maybe you could hit the isolation with enough intensity to recruit all of those fibers, but again, just from a muscle mass and standpoint in general, you're recruiting more muscle groups even, which
Yes.
leads to growth.
More muscle fibers, more muscle growth.
Hmm.
David Buster says, stay positive. I'm 63 and still making gains. My man, absolutely. I'm going to keep chasing those gains forever, David Buster. Don't you worry, baby. I will. The injuries happen. This has been a lifetime for me, and I've gone through this before. So I'll come back, and I'll keep making them gains, baby.
Absolutely.
Thank you, David Buster.
Speaking of age, I want to say happy birthday to Native Grit.
Yeah, Native Grit had a birthday this week. Happy birthday, Native Grit.
Yeah, for sure.
Back to the compounds. Think about it, guys. Think about it, y'all. What puts the most load on your muscles? The compound exercises.
Mhm.
That just common sense. The most load equals the most gains. Come
Right.
on now. You can definitely make gains without isolation exercises.
Now, I will say there is truth in that the isolation exercises help build more mind muscle connection. So if you're having a hard time, feeling your delts in a shoulder press, perhaps grabbing a set of dumbbells and doing some side raises or front raises, you're going to feel it and be able to connect with the tissue a lot more, perhaps.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong. I'm not saying don't do
Right.
isolation exercises. I'm saying do both. That's the correct answer to compound and isolation.
Yeah, but just pure compound versus isolation, your compound lifters can create more mechanical tension, which is like the number one mechanism for hypertrophy.
Yes.
Mechanical tension, number one. So that's going to drive significantly more growth than anything for you guys.
Absolutely. And you're going to miss out on a lot of gains if you're only training isolation exercise. You're going to miss out on a whole lot of gains.
Yeah. So in terms of coaching tips on myth number 3, use both strategically. Isolate when you need to activate, or if you need to pre-exhaust or post-exhaust to
Where's
keep
Angel at?
the
Sandwich set, baby.
sandwich set, pyramid sets. And then use the compound to truly overload your muscle fibers. So great pairing example might be doing some cable lateral raise to pre-exhaust before hitting your overhead press. Overhead press is a big, nasty, scary exercise. You want to do it safely. You don't want to be like trying to PR max out on overhead press necessarily. So doing a pre-exhaust with an isolation could work in this case.
100%.
But you're still hitting the compound, right?
Yes. You just pre-exhausted, yeah.
Yeah. And in terms of like when to modify your compounds, you want to give it time. James and I typically will say 6 to 8 weeks. Like, you can't just week to week be switching out what exercise you're doing. You need to build some proficiency at it, and that takes time.
Give the exercise time to work, y'all. As you get stronger, you're going to get bigger, but it's not necessarily going to happen right away. You might have to go 8 weeks before and get stronger for 8 weeks before that size goes, oh, okay, we're getting stronger. Here's
Right.
the adaptation. Here's the size to come up with that strength, to keep up with that strength.
And for me, a lot of times it's not always about chasing the load and the number and the reps. Sometimes, like, instead I focus on the quality of the rep, like hitting my full range of motion. How much more can I control the eccentric? Especially when I start to get to the 10 rep range, before I progress to the next heavier weight, I'll spend some time just rechecking the quality of my rep and really try to hold myself accountable and perfect it.
100%. I don't care if you're progressively overloading if your form is crap.
Yeah.
It's got to be quality reps, or don't even try.
Yeah. So yeah, that was myth number 3, you guys. Definitely focus on compounds. Isolations aren't gonna cut the mustard in terms of growth. Myth number 4 for you guys. There's a myth out there, don't bother fixing weak points during a cut, right? So we just had tons of people in the summer challenge. And we have clients cutting down for shows right now that do have weak points. And they are still, I can tell you, 100% focused on bringing up those lagging areas.
You better believe it. Are you going to make a significant change in 12 weeks, 10 weeks, 6 weeks? Probably not, but you might make some change to that weak point, and you should absolutely be working it, whether you're cutting or bulking.
For sure. Dave and Buster says, doing those pull-ups is definitely pointing out my weak areas. Don't you love that?
That's a good thing, Dave. That's a good thing, brother. We want to know our weak spots so we can fix them.
Absolutely. But yeah, myth 4, people have this thought in their mind that it's like you can't build anything while cutting, so don't even bother, right? And that's just not true. Like weak points can still be refined and maintained, especially, if they were undertrained before. I've had a lot of clients that just the intensity was never there. So even though they were in a deficit for 12 to 16 weeks, we were able to significantly bring up the legs or the shoulders or whatever it was because the training intensity just was never there to begin with.
Right.
Another thing too is smart programming can really help preserve your shape and bring up detail. So if there is an area, like you absolutely need to work it in, like James said, maybe you try to train it twice a week, as long as you're recovered and you can hit the intensity to try to, change the shape there with what time you have.
As long as you can stimulate and recover twice in a week, you can do it. If you shortchange either of those, don't do it.
So yeah, cut, bulk, maintain, whatever it is, you can build in all three. So keep that intensity high.
Work your weak areas.
Yep, hit those weak areas, especially early in your training, right? So you wouldn't wait until the end of your training session to be like, I'm going to focus on bringing up the delts, right? You want to do that early. So hit those compounds early in your training set and go after it. And just remember, like, when you're in a deficit, I think it's even more important to emphasize like the execution of the exercise, the control of the exercise, the range of motion, the quality. Because a lot of times your mental focus isn't there. So you have to put extra effort into focusing on those exercises. You can't just go through the motions, right?
It's tough when you're in a deficit.
For sure. All right, you guys, and we want to hear from you as well. What are some of the myths you have or questions that you have when you're trying to bring up a lagging body part, or even what are your lagging body parts? We can talk through some strategies for specifics too, if you'd like.
This is my favorite, the last myth.
The last myth, myth number 5, you guys. My muscle XYZ whatever just won't grow. It's genetics. Must be genetics, guys. A lot of people are like, if it hasn't grown by now, it's just not possible. Nope, not going to happen. I might as well just quit lifting altogether.
Yep. And we talked about this earlier as well, y'all. We discussed this before we go live. We obviously talk about it. 99.9% of people out there never meet their genetic potential.
Yeah.
Mike Mentzer said there's still yet to be a bodybuilder out there to meet their genetic potential. Across the board, Dorian Yates, Ronnie Coleman, etc. They have not met their genetic potential yet, according to Mike Mentzer. I'm going to go with the 99.9. There is 0.01 that have met it. Ronnie Coleman would be one, and Dorian Yates would be another. But you get the point. Most people do not reach their genetic potential because they don't have the intensity, the consistency, etc.
I mean, it just boils down to you don't have the grit. You just don't have it.
The gut-busting willpower it takes to progressively overload continuously over and over. And man, I barely got the weight last week, and now I got to add a rep to it. Yeah, most people are walking out the back door saying, nah, I'm good. Instead of getting that gut-busting will and pushing that weight up no matter what.
So yeah, if you hear that one or you've been telling yourself that one, it's a little bit of a cop-out. So really reassess that. Angel says, just going through the motions is like chasing the pump. Yes, you are 100% right. And what have we talked to you guys about pump? Pump's not going to lead to true hypertrophy. Nope. The amount of hypertrophy that leads to is like minuscule, right? So we want real hypertrophy. We're not just like, looking for a little bit there. So
I agree 100%, Angel, and I hate halving a workout. If I can't give 100%, I'm taking a rest day. If I can't give it my all, I'm taking a rest day because you're just going through the motions. You're wasting your time. You're burning calories. Okay, I'll give you that. But you're not making muscles.
Yeah. So, in terms of genetics and how it applies, like there is truth that genetics can affect like the shape of your muscles, the attachment point, but not potential, you guys. Like it's truly not limiting potential for 99.9% of the folks out there and for you guys listening.
It's a cop-out. I don't have a big chest because it's genetics. It's a cop-out. Give it all you got. that chest will grow. Matter of fact, I forget his name, but I command you to grow. I love that dude. You know, I don't care what you're saying. Bring the intensity. I'm gonna make you grow,
Hmm.
Mister Little Bird Chest. No matter what, I'm gonna go in the gym and make you grow.
That's
Right?
right.
Do you remember his name? C.T.
No.
Fletcher.
Okay.
C.T. Fletcher. That's his. All right, Miss Tactic says to lift with 1 rep in reserve on each set. No way. I don't think I'm understanding the question. You want to go to failure, not leave anything in the tank. Why would you leave 1 rep in the tank?
I
You
mean,
agree?
going to
Disagree?
true failure is kind of difficult.
If it's safe, if you're safe, are
It's a
you talking about
strategy.
overhead press? No, don't go to failure.
So when I hear leave 1 rep in the tank, I'm thinking of a 9 out of 10 on terms of like a rate of perceived effort. Whereas like a level 8 out of 10 for rate of perceived effort would be leaving 2 in reserve. But I think it is very challenging to actually know whether that's true or not, Mystic. So I would make sure that you're trying to maximize as much as you can and not really leave reps in the tank. But again, I get what you're saying. 1 rep left in the tank is like a 9 out of 10 on an intensity scale.
So if you're going in there with the mindset of I gotta leave 1 rep in the tank, you're never gonna go as hard as you can.
Hmm.
Forget that. Go as hard as you stinking can. Safely. Don't
Well,
do it on overhead press or squats, but go as hard as you can.
well,
Don't leave anything in the tank.
let me go back to Mike Mentzer's strategy, and that is to be able to do all the reps with control,
With form, yes.
with good
Yes,
form.
yes.
So,
Once that form breaks down, that's failure.
so if doing it with good form means you could do another rep in reserve, okay. Got it. Angel says,
Dave was first.
oh, sorry, Dave and Buster, I have an interesting split. 1 back and rear delt, chest and side delt.
Legs, shoulders, and arms.
Nice. So I guess like if I saw a client doing that split Dave and Buster, I would probably
Too
assume,
much shoulders.
well, I would assume that they are trying to bring up shoulders, that they have lagging rear delts and side delts. And so they're trying to pepper them in, which is a strategy I've done before to try to get
Yes.
slightly more volume and training intensity there.
That would work as long as your shoulders are recovering. That would work, but that's a lot of shoulders, baby.
So tell us, Dave and Buster, are you trying to bring up the delts? Because that will work.
All right, Angel said, do more push-ups between your chest exercises. That's another. That's what would you call that? Intensifying technique.
Intensifying technique.
I've done that before. You know, I've peppered that in before. Make myself do 20 push-ups after every single chest exercise.
You just have to be careful with that because you could get such a great chest pump that when you go to hit the compound, you're not able to actually do it. And it's more related to like how much blood you've kind of drawn into that muscle where you might have to let some of that subside before going back into the big nasty lift.
Yeah. All right. Miss Tactic says, thank you all. Good form to failure.
Nice.
That's your best bet. Your best bet. And then Dave says, yep, bringing up the shoulders.
Tina, you guys look great. I've been listening, but I just looked.
Thank you, Tina. We're on
Thank
the
you.
phone, so it's a different angle, different lighting. We're up in the mountains, so we're feeling good.
Yeah, I love it here for sure. So yeah, going back to, my muscles won't grow. It's genetics. Like some coaching tips for you guys, like just focus on improving your form, providing max effort when you get in there to lift, and being selective with your exercise selection. And you have to track, right? You got to audit everything always. Don't use the cop out that it's just your genetics. Like I call baloney. I've seen some people do some incredible transformations.
Yep. I've had plenty of clients come in and say, hey, I can't get my chest to grow. It's genetics. And I said, no, it's not. Your shoulders are taking over. And guess what? 8 weeks later, their chest is blowed up because they've been training with me for 8 weeks. And they go, wow, I never thought this would happen. But
Yeah.
it does, and they just, in their head, genetics, it's an excuse. So I'm not even going to train chest hard because no matter what I do, it doesn't work. Baloney.
Absolutely. And so, yeah, I mean, if you're trying a strategy and it's just not working, hire a coach or have a second set of eyes, look at what you've been doing, maybe have someone watch you work out. There's usually something that's not firing on all cylinders, and that's why that lagging area is not coming up. So,
yes, and this particular individual has said he had tried everything off the internet, every exercise there was, everything you could think of, and the very first exercise I gave him, he never did before. So, once again, get yourself a one-on-one coach that's worth something. Somebody who's got a lot of experience, and they will help you out.
Loving the hex presses.
It is.
I
Hey,
like hex press
hey.
too. So that's another great one, especially if you have any kind of like shoulder pain and pressing. A lot of times hex press is a great exercise.
Yep.
Allows you to still train chest, but doesn't put all that stress on the shoulders.
If you don't know what a hex press is, you take 2 dumbbells, chest, press them.
Yeah.
So.
All right, you guys. So those are our top 5 myths when it comes to bringing up your lagging body parts. I mean, we could probably go on for days, but these are probably the top 5 that, as coaches, James and I hear this a lot.
All
so
the time.
we definitely wanted to come talk to you guys today about that. Just to recap, myth number 1 was that more frequency equals more growth. I really think this just stems from our culture here, especially in America, where more is better, right?
Yeah.
If I do it more, I'll get better results. So that's not true, right? So more frequency does not mean more growth. It needs to matter, if you're recovered. You need to train with the same amount of intensity to grow. So if you can't do those, if you're training not fully recovered and you're not bringing the intensity, you're not going to grow regardless of how much you do it. Tina says, I've been trying not pausing and taking a couple breaths during the set. If I keep going, it changes how I feel dramatically. Let me think about this for a second. I've been not pausing.
And taking a couple breaths during the set.
I'm not sure I understand, Tina.
Me either.
Yeah.
All right, Jayudi, before workout, can I do everyday push-ups, pull-ups, and dips? You can, but once again, if you're just burning calories, you're not really making muscles unless you're progressively overloading. And then if you're progressively overloading, you should be up to 500-600 push-ups before too long, and that's going to take away from your weight training.
You guys, so we were at work. This was this year. There was like a push-up challenge for suicide awareness or whatever. I think it was suicide awareness. And I was doing on the order of 500 push-ups a day, you guys. And it got to the point where like I couldn't even get a good chest workout because I was so sore, so pumped from doing all those stupid push-ups. I mean, it was for a great cause, and you know what? Like, my team definitely won because I'm competitive, but at the end of the day, it definitely, for that, 7 days I did that, I did not get a good chest workout. So consider that too.
Like I said, eventually you're going to be up to 500-600 push-ups, or you should be pretty quickly, and that's going to take away from your real workout. And I have a push-up video out there somewhere where I'm saying are push-ups effective? Yeah, they can be, but you're way better off getting on a barbell and progressively overloading the barbell with 6 to 10 reps as opposed to 500-600 push-ups.
Right.
All right, Angel, thank you for another great session. I really appreciate all the info you shared with us. Very welcome, Angel.
Yeah, thanks for tuning in.
We appreciate you, brother.
Yeah.
Miss Tactic, with regard to training failure, what would good abdominal exercise be? Thank you. My top is sit-ups and hanging leg raises.
Yeah, I actually like weighted leg raises. So you're laying flat on a bench and you're holding a dumbbell with your feet doing a leg raise.
Do not drop the dumbbell on you, Miss Tactic.
Yeah, don't smash your face with the dumbbell. But it's a great exercise. You can progressive overload. You can do drop sets. So you can bring the intensity, especially if you want to work on those like lower abs. You're gonna feel it all over. I guarantee you're gonna be sore for days if you try this. So start small and increment up. Small, but great exercises. So yeah, we talked about myth 1. Myth 2 was no soreness, no gains. Not true. The two are not correlated.
Nope.
You can lift, have great growth and never be sore. You can be sore and have good growth. They just, it doesn't correlate. But I will say, if you are sore, a lot of times mentally it's hard to get into the right frame of mind to get in there and do what you need to do.
Better believe it. Like I said, I could barely walk. You think I'm thinking about going in and crushing the workout? No, I'm getting in ice. I'm getting in recovery.
Yeah.
I couldn't hardly walk. So, I'm not going to go in and crush a workout when I'm feeling like I can hardly walk.
Yeah, so instead of trying to chase the soreness, focus on creating the most mechanical tension that you can, controlling all of the exercises and progressing over time. Soreness fades as your body adapts. The more proficient you get, the less sore you're going to be. Like my intermediate to advanced lifters rarely get sore from a workout. Myth 3, we talked about only isolation exercises fixing the weak point. no, you guys, focus on those compounds
Yes.
or use both strategically. But, compound provides a lot better ability to generate load. So, and then number 4 was you can't bring up those weak points in the cut. That's not true. If you lift with intensity, you are still going to grow the lagging muscle group.
JOD, best exercise for traps to develop that muscle. You talking upper traps, mid traps, or lower traps,
That's a
baby?
good question.
To get them all, I'm going to say hunch shrugs. Hunch shrugs is probably the best to hit all. If you just want top, upper traps, then regular shrugs.
Yeah, with the hunch shrugs, my recommendation, if that's not something that you've been doing, maybe try it on a incline bench first before loading up a really heavy barbell, because a lot of times people round their back a little too much and they're loading the spine inappropriately. So definitely start with an incline bench until you can control it. Great question, though. All
Dave and Buster,
right.
tip: if your protein powder is getting boring, add instant coffee.
Nice.
Either caffeinated or decaffeinated, depending on the hour. Turn them into mochas. Turn your vanilla into a latte, salted cream into a frappe.
I love it.
Man, I like it too. Good
He's
advice.
always got the best supplement tips there.
Good stuff.
Yeah. And then our last myth we talked about today, guys, was that if you won't grow, it must be genetics. It's not. Remember, 99 guys train differently, train smarter. Whatever you do, don't chalk it up to genetics. It's just not true. So yeah, those were our 5 myths. This is part 2 of bringing up your lagging muscle group. So I hope you guys enjoyed the topic for sure.
Dave and Buster, James, you tried the wide grip barbell shrug. I did, sir, and I liked it a lot.
I feel like that's going to hit right there.
Different angle, and it definitely hits those upper traps fantastically. So thank you for that tip.
Yeah, that's a great one.
And I'm going to keep doing them, matter of fact, for probably the next 8 weeks.
Yeah, I'm not sure you need more upper trap.
Oh.
They're going to be like touching his ears. Like, go ahead, flex your traps. Look at that, guy. Like, maybe I need to do it. I don't know.
It's one of my favorite muscles, so I want to blow them up anyway. But we do need to stay in balance, so maybe I'll lay off.
I mean, James is right, and it's impressive to see a big, like, overdeveloped set of traps. It's not something that you see every day.
Crazy traps. Thank you.
But yeah, so that was our topic today. I just want to give another congratulations to Aileen, Chris, and Deal.
Yes.
You guys killed it in the 6-week summer shred. Just remember, email me your mailing addresses so I can get that apparel out to you guys.
Yep.
And we'll get it out right away. But remember, you guys, weak points aren't forever. They're fixable with smart training. So make sure, you stay on top of that. Track everything. Go intense. You got this. And don't forget, if you need help with coaching, send us an email, info@88fitnesstraining.com. We can certainly create programs for you to try to bring up those lagging muscle groups.
Yeah.
So thank you for everyone for tuning in. We appreciate all of you guys. A lot of great interaction and questions today, so I appreciate that. And yeah, we'll be here same time, same place next week, 12 Eastern, every Sunday. All right, guys.
Very welcome. Appreciate all of you.
All right. Bye, everyone. We will see you next time.